Hello everyone, welcome back to my Atlantis toy box. I'm Professor Toy Box, and I've got Perry the Platypus with me, aka Agent P, and today I'm experimenting with some additional ways to use a randomizer to add some unpredictability to my randomly generated dungeon crawler. So far in this series, we've explored some obvious ways to use a randomizer and the random settings in certain Creativity toys. We've looked at using replayers to build mazes and lay traps and other obstacles. We've used replayers to place items like, like keys and collectibles in random locations. We've used object generators to place packs and tools in random locations. We've generated enemies in random locations and put down multiple enemy generators and randomly combine 2 or 3 of those to build a unique battle that's unpredictable. And now I want to try combining the randomizer with some other toys to see what other kinds of fun things I can come up with to make my game unpredictable. I've started working on level 3, and as you can see, I've mixed things up a little bit and I've changed the look of this level. I'm using the textures and skybox for syndromes layer to create a volcanic setting. The Atlantis movie took place underground and featured some volcanic activity, so this setting seemed appropriate. Plus, I want to see what kinds of different lava-type obstacles I can come up with. It just sounded fun to me. One idea that occurred to me is volcanic debris falling in random places, and so that's what I'm going to work on today. So I've set up this little ruined city up on top of this mesa here. And I'll give you a bird's eye view of this. So I've added some debris from the building drawer 2 and different kinds of things here, debris-wise. And I've also used the Atlantis customizable textures and a few blocks so that I've got that texture in here so that the setting in Atlantis is still recognizable. And I've also got some other things that I've set up, which I'll show you next time. But today we're going to focus largely on this area, and my idea is we'll be coming up this ramp and entering this city, and I'd like to have some volcanic debris kind of falling in random places here. I was going to use the path, and initially that's what I had set up, and I created a path from the volcano over there in a huge arc, and tried dropping some lava blocks on the area, but unfortunately I can't set the speed high enough for that, and the block just kind of moved real slowly across the sky and just didn't look very realistic. So then I kind of wondered what else I could try to do, and one of the things that I stumbled across as I was flipping through here was the falling object generator. And so I figured, well, we could try that. And so I played around with this a little bit, and this is basically what I came up with, so we'll go ahead and drop that. And just to test with initially, I'm going to use a button. And we'll go ahead and move that over just a little bit. Oop, wanted to move it. There we go. Okay, we'll also need a couple of locators. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this guy, let's say right here. So I'm going to come up here a little ways and drop it. And I don't think the placement of the little dot there makes any difference. But just to see which way it is facing. And it's going to drop straight down, and I'm going to drop another locator right here on the ground directly beneath it. So the first thing I want to do is connect this locator up to the falling object generator. Whoops, I guess we do that better from this direction. And that way the falling objects will spawn up here, and I don't have these unsightly generators hovering in the sky. There we go. So that'll be the location that we do the generation from. And new logic connection when pressed. I initially wasn't sure I could use this because as I look through this And remembered looking through this, I remembered all of the sports physics balls. But if you scroll down, you get a few of the things from the gameplay toys drawer as well. So the boulder I thought would work pretty well. So this will cause, when we push the button, to cause the falling object generator to drop a boulder from this locator. And then when the boulder hits, I thought it'd be nice to touch off an explosion. So I'm going to put down a trigger area right here. And we'll go ahead and reduce the height of this. If this is too tall, as soon as the boulder enters that trigger area, it's going to set off the explosion. That would happen before it hit the ground. And the last thing I need for this single example is the effects generator. So this effects generator, we'll go ahead and hook up to the locator that's on the ground. That's where I want the explosion to be. And new logic connection on the trigger area when entered by the physics ball. Come over to the effects generator, play one time, an explosion. And the best one here to me looked like the huge explosion. The others didn't quite fit. And the other thing we can do is, when entered by the physics ball, we'll come back over to the falling object generator, and we'll go ahead and remove the ball. And the explosion will help cover that up a little bit too. So now we can go ahead and just kind of test this. Obviously we don't want to do this in response to a button, but just to make sure this works. So that's kind of cool. And what's interesting is, if I didn't have all this debris in the way, there's a shadow that kind of shows up, which gives you a little bit of warning that it's coming. I could also play a sound effect probably for that. I wonder if they've got like a incoming missile sound or something. I might experiment with that. So that's one falling object generator in one specific location. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up 9 other of those, and then we'll connect that to a randomizer. So I'll be back in just a moment. For you, it'll be a little bit longer for me. All right, welcome back. I've got 10 of these things all set up. So I've got 10 falling object generators over there. And if I go zoom out here to spark mode, you'll see I've got 10 trigger areas, each with a locator and an effects generator. And I've got 10 locators up here in the sky, all connected to the falling object generators. And so everything is all hooked up for all of these. And now the next thing I want to look at is, it'd be nice if I happened to be standing under this thing when it went off, if it just didn't explode on top of me and nothing happened. So one thing that'll make it a little bit more interesting is if it were to cause me to die if I was standing underneath the thing when it fell. So to test that and to implement that, I'm going to drop a couple of, well, I think I just need one kill switch. And I'm going to need 2 distance checkers. And we're going to need 2 for each trigger area. 1 for player 1, 1 for player 2. And so we'll come in here, and this one we'll configure. So target A will be player 1. Target B will be the locator that I'm going to connect. And a reasonable distance would probably be, I would guess, 6. Active is fine. Visible distance, I don't need to see that. And so the locator we'll connect it to is right here where the object drops And that will be target B, which I just set up a moment ago. And we'll do the same thing with this distance checker, except this time target A will be player 2. Target B will be the same locator. Distance again will be 6. 5 or 6 seems to be a good distance. I'm doing 6 just because even being in the proximity of the explosion will probably be enough to kill anybody. Don't have to be right on top of it. So now we've got that. So now, when the physics ball / boulder enters this, we want to turn both of these on. Because at this point they're in imminent danger. Entered by physics ball. We'll turn that one on. And I need some way to turn it off. And I tried using the falling object generator, but it doesn't seem to work quite as well. But I think when the effects generator gets triggered, that's sufficient. We can turn this off at that point. It'll have had time to do its distance check. Okay, so now for the one on player 1, if player 1 comes within that distance, we'll come over to the kill switch and we'll defeat player 1. And for the other one, if the target comes within that distance, target being player 2, we'll defeat player 2. So now if we happen to be standing under that thing when we die, that would be bad. And a good way to test that before we go and hook up all of these to work that way, we'll drop a button over here. And we'll go ahead and hook this up to the falling object generator that this is connected to, which is number 2, as you can see. And in this case, we'll go ahead and drop the boulder. And there we go. So now all I need is a sucker, player 2, to test with. And for that, let me come over here to my cabinet. And oh, Donald Duck will be our lucky player 2.
Couldn't stay away, could ya?
I'll have to show you that little lava thing next time. Okay, Donald, let's come on over here. And I don't want to get too close to that yet, because those distance checkers are still on. And so the first thing I want to do is go ahead and drop the ball. Turn the distance checker off. I'll initialize that from the level starter for reals when I get ready. So now stand there, Donald. Don't have anything to worry about. Oh, hey, you left me a whole bunch of sparks. Thanks, pal. Okay, Donald, you're done. Don't need you anymore. Fine. I'll just drop out, says Donald. Okay, so that worked out pretty well. So now that adds a little bit of danger, not just visual interest, but some actual danger for that. So now I'll go ahead and connect up the rest of those, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I've got all the distance checkers set up, and they're all connected to the trigger areas and the kill switch. The properties are all set, and we can take out this button over here. Don't need this anymore. So the last thing that we're going to need, now that we've got all of these hooked up, is a way to set them off. So I'm going to need my randomizer. Let's see, is that this way? Nope, it's over this direction. There we go. So we'll go ahead and drop our randomizer out here for right now. And we'll go ahead and do random trigger 1. We'll launch this one. And we want to drop the boulder. And we'll go ahead and do that for each of these. Random trigger 2, we'll drop this one. And again, we want to drop a boulder. Okay, the randomizer is all hooked up to each of the falling object generators. Now we need something that will trigger the randomizer. And I'd like this to happen every so often, so I'm thinking the time delayer is probably our best bet. So we'll drop one of those, come into properties, and we'll set this to, well, maybe every 10 seconds or so. And every time this goes off, we'll come over here and invoke the randomizer. And the randomizer on each of the random triggers can come back over here and start the delay for the next one. Okay, each of the random trigger signals is set to restart the time delayer. And now we need a way to start the time delayer for the very first time. And for that, I think we'll use a trigger area over here. There's no need to really start this until the player gets to this area. So that's why I'm thinking the trigger area would be the best way to go. And I think if we drop one, maybe as they're coming up the ramp here. So new logic connection when entered by player, any. Go ahead and start the delayer at that point. And as before, we only want to do this one time. So I'm going to put down a logic gate. Not sure if it was faster to go the other way or this way. There we go, logic gate. For right now, I'll drop this right here. So new logic connection when entered by player, any. Go ahead and open the gate. And when the gate is open, deactivate that. And we'll also come over here to the level starter. New logic connection. This trigger area is on. Okay. And now we can move this out of the way. Put this below the terrain where it won't cause any problems. And I should probably do that with all of these effects generators and distance checkers as well, but just to go ahead and test this out. And here we go. Let's see what happens. That should start the timer, 10 seconds or so. And we should start hearing and seeing some things happening. Oh, there's one over there. I think the time to... Whoa! That's cool, it's working. I believe the time delayer, when you first activate it, there comes another one, automatically triggers the first delay. Whoa! Oh, there goes another one. Ooh, nice move, Agent P. So we can basically sit back here and watch. Oh, there's another one. Boom! Yeah, so this will make this area a lot more fun to run through, especially when I get some enemies in here. One of the things I noticed with the distance checker is that there's 3 different distances in there, and it'd be really nice if there were a way on distance check 2 and distance check 3 to not kill the player rather, but to reduce some health, but I couldn't find a creativity toy that I could programmatically interact with that would reduce the player's health. So not quite sure how I would do that. If any of you know how to do that, respond in the comments. That would be much appreciated. I'd love to know if there's a way I can do that so that even though I'm not directly under the bomb blast but close by, it'd be really nice to lose a little bit of health. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel or sign up for my blog to find out what we do next in this series. You can find logic diagrams and build tips on my blog for the different challenges that we make. And again, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.